Ladies and gentlemen, innovators, disruptors, creators, and the leaders of our future, welcome to Misk Talk. We're so excited to have you with us today. All of you are going to determine the direction of this rapidly changing world and the way that we're heading. It's your ideas, your achievements, your creativity, and of course, your dreams that will shape the future for a better tomorrow for all of us. Misk is a philanthropic foundation set up by His Royal Highness Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. It really seeks very strongly to develop young Saudis and to provide them with the opportunities to thrive in an ever-changing world. Misk promotes the disciplines of education, of tech, of science, of arts, of culture, of creative digital media. And it provides an avenue for all of you to plug into the global grid. For instance, just take a look for a moment where we are here today. We are in Los Angeles, the home of Hollywood, and the galaxy of stars who have touched the hearts of millions simply through the silver screen. This is the land where creativity, imagination, talent, and tenacity make dreams come true. And of course, it's also a land where contribution to America's power is measured not just in dollars and cents, but also in ideological terms. In short, La La Land stands supreme as an epitome of the notion of soft power in an era where technology is completely erasing borders, reshaping cultures, and reframing the entire global narrative. So in keeping with this context, I'd like all of us here in the room to consider today that this is the Misk Oscars. And this is where we have the best performances from all the categories of life, from all sectors, and from all of the most creative minds. Every single one of our speakers is a star, and some are even superstars. So today we're going to hear and share stories of the young people of Saudi Arabia and the United States. These youths and future leaders are positive, they're optimistic, and they are really committed to shaping a brighter future for a troubled world. They are the ones who are building bridges across civilizations. They are the ones enhancing and enriching cultural understanding. They are the ones who are committed to the healing of the scars of the past, and they are seeking to strengthen their ties of their future. It's their dreams, their efforts, their energy, and their aspirations that are so critical in shaping a better tomorrow for a polarized world. So I'd like you to lend them your ears this evening as they share their unique insights and experiences. Before I introduce our very first speaker, I'd like to share a little bit more about Misk. Please watch.
هم الطاقة الحقيقية والقوة الحقيقية لتحقيق هذه الرؤية، وهي أهم ميزة بالنسبة لدى السعودية هي الطاقة الشبابية اللي فيها، والميزة الجيدة أنهم شباب واعي قوي لديه طموح رائع مثقف متعلم بشكل جيد مبدع لديه قيم عالية باقي فقط نضع الرؤية ونعمل عليها.
Empowering young people leads to a stronger future. But how do we support young people so that they thrive in this rapidly changing world? How do we equip them with the knowledge and skills they need to create a modern, sustainable economy? Our foundation, Misk, was established by His Royal Highness, Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdulaziz, in 2011 to discover, develop, and empower young people to overcome the challenges of today and contribute to the advancement of tomorrow. We focus on 4 areas. In education, we help young people move from learning to earning. In technology and science, we establish tech accelerators and incubators. In arts and culture, we showcase and promote the work of talented artists. In media, we support the creation of innovative content and inspire our audiences. We know that these opportunities have no boundaries and cannot be achieved alone. So, we collaborate with the world's leading organizations, universities, corporations, NGOs, and governments to provide new horizons for young people to thrive. In our first 6 years, through 100 events, programs, and initiatives, we have served over 1 million young people from more than 65 countries. This is just the start. We want you to join us on our journey as we work to invest in our greatest and most valuable asset, our young people.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a very warm welcome to Dr. Shada Al-Salama, Assistant Professor at King Saud University and a visiting Assistant Professor at MIT. She'll be speaking about the modern Saudi.
Assalamu alaikum. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Today, I would like you to see the modern Saudi through my lens, through a technology that will shift our common norms to a state that never believed to be possible. Also through a change that, if not implemented in the future, it will leave us behind. Please, let me start off by talking about the science that makes the impossible possible. A science that can imitate human cognition in order to address and solve complex problems. A science that even has outperformed humans in some tasks. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk about artificial intelligence. Now, we hear in the stories, in the news, stories about artificial intelligence and how it is changing our world, because it is. Some of those stories and news bring good news. Others carry bad news. First of all, AI will reshape our marketplace. A lot of people fear that artificial intelligence will replace them, will take over their jobs. This is happening because it is predicted that the artificial intelligence will replace and take over 74% of existing jobs today. But not only that, today it is actually going to create, in return, 10 million new jobs with different skill sets. Those jobs will be less repetitive. Those jobs will clear the way for the application of emotional intelligence. Now, it is predicted or hoped that artificial intelligence may change medicine by creating a clinical era that is truly for personalized medicine and patient-centered care. That has never been before. Not only that, but also that is going to add $15.7 trillion to the global market. All of these changes are necessary because we need them to accommodate the new digital markets or sectors created by artificial intelligence. Now, governments today, they need to realize how important the impact of artificial intelligence is today on the welfare of their people. Now, if we look in medicine, we will find that last year, 100% of the US healthcare was delivered with 0% involvement of artificial intelligence. The same year, the United Arab Emirates government appointed a minister dedicated for artificial intelligence. This is to adopt such technology into their future and current plans. Saudi Arabia has recognized artificial intelligence by granting for the very first time citizenship to robots. So now, we've got Sophia. She's one of our own. If governments do not adapt and adopt to the changes to those emerging technologies, they will be left behind. So there's a need for adaptation. Last year, I joined MIT as a visiting scholar at the Media Lab at Professor Pentland's Human Dynamics Group. Now, believing in the promise of artificial intelligence in medicine or for medicine, I explore cutting-edge technologies with some of the smartest people in the world to bring them home to help us tackle our problems, our healthcare-related problems, in order to build a smarter, healthier environment and system. This is to build a better disease prevention, disease detection, disease diagnosis, and even disease treatment. Now, I'll tell you a personal story. And it is the reason, or let's say, the reason behind my fascination for artificial intelligence. Everyone in this room, including myself, is at risk for stroke. God forbid, but I'm a scientist, I speak with numbers. So, statistically speaking, 1 out of 5 will have stroke at some point in their lives. Now, the chances are that we may fully recover, we may have long life disability, and there is the possibility that we might die. Now, Hissa is a 90-year-old Saudi citizen. One morning, she collapsed. Luckily, she was surrounded by her family. They called 997 to help save her life, and the ambulance took her to the nearest hospital to her home. Now, unluckily, or let's say unfortunately, that hospital was ill-equipped. It didn't have any treatment for stroke. So the family had to convince the hospital in order to take her in an ambulance to refer her to another suitable hospital. But this was against the hospital's policy to take her to another hospital using their ambulance and check the availability of a suitable hospital. So they had to take risks. They had to take her, discharge her, drive her in their private car, and just go and take her to the next hospital. The problem is that they had to call every single hospital in the city to see which one is actually suitable, has some stroke treatment, so they don't fall into the same mistake again. Unfortunately, by the time they arrived, it was too late. They wasted a lot of time. Hissa was my grandmother, and I'm very sure a lot of people in this room can relate to that story. Now I'll show you a video. In this video, you can see cases like Hessa's. Patients driven to hospitals across the city of Riyadh. These are real data. We collected them from hospitals, anonymized data, to show and color-coded them visually so we can see the movement of those patients, to help us decide why Hessa and other cases did not make it in time. And as we can see here, the pattern here can show us that some of those movements show that patients have moved to the furthest hospital available and not the nearest one. The question is why. Now this is supported by some statistics. Like I told you, I'm a scientist. I cannot use numbers. So, according to the Ministry of Health, Saudis, 84% of Saudis, they do not use ambulances, which is, when you look at global statistics, it is almost exactly the opposite. Only 5 do not use ambulances. So that explains. Now, I'll tell you why this figure is available here today, or that's the current state, reflects the current state, and why it is difficult. Why is it so difficult for an ambulance to decide which hospital to go to? Now, this is because, let's use some numbers, the 6.7 million people living in Riyadh city having medical records, those records are stored in systems all across the city. They're not connected with the 50 trauma and stroke centers we have available only for treating strokes in Riyadh city, and also not connected with the 3,000 emergency medical services units available in the field. So it makes sense that if not enough information is being exchanged, then definitely it will be hard to make that informed decision about where to take the patient. So from King Saud University, I bring 8 hospitals from Riyadh city. I also bring the Saudi Red Crescent Authority and MIT to use cutting-edge technologies like artificial intelligence and blockchain, machine learning, data analytics, in order to connect those systems together, mobilize healthcare and bring it to the patient, as well as increasing the utilization of ambulances in Riyadh. This is to save our lives and the lives of those we love. This is not the only project I work on. We work on a number of other projects, all in the healthcare. This is to build a vibrant society that lives healthy, cares about health, and can be happy or healthy. I'm not alone. I don't work alone. I have a list of collaborators who generously contributes to our projects. And also, I'm not alone in the community. I am part of a bigger community in Riyadh and Saudi Arabia. We work together on building vibrant society for a better tomorrow. So thanks to them, thanks to all of the collaborators, thanks to you for listening here today. Thanks to Professor Pentland for supporting the projects and hosting them. Thank you to King Saud University for supporting those projects, and Aramco for funding them. And finally, thanks to Misk for bringing me home to tell you my story and to empower us all to be part and participants of the knowledge economy. Thank you very much.
Very nice. Thank you so much for sharing your personal story and some incredible research with all of us here this evening. I'd now like to introduce Elliot Schwartz, the founder of Empty Leg Market. He'll be talking about how to inspire change through entrepreneurship.
When I look at Saudi Arabia, I see potential. Potential for a country with over half its population under the age of 25. Potential for the youth who are looking to grow, learn, and change the world. After I first visited Saudi Arabia in 2016 as a delegate for the Misk Global Forum through the Milken Institute's Young Leaders Circle, I realized the youth are no different from the youth of the rest of the world. We all want happiness, health, and a better tomorrow. It was an incredibly eye-opening experience to see firsthand the drive, determination, and passion of my fellow youth and entrepreneurs in Saudi Arabia. So my question is, how do you create positive change? I believe the best vehicle to do so is through entrepreneurship. I'm an avid supporter of people following their entrepreneurial passions to write their own destinies and become their own CEOs. I'm Elliot Schwartz, a serial entrepreneur. I run a business called Empty Leg Market, which fills empty private jets with paying customers, and Sun Polish, a cosmetic brand that captures the colors of the sun here in Southern California and puts them in a bottle. And 10% of our profits go to organizations in Los Angeles that empower women. But let me go back to the beginning. My first business was selling sand art in jam jars door to door in our neighborhood. I would set up this display table in front of our neighbor's front door and ring their doorbell. Looking back, I'm slightly embarrassed by that tactic, but that is how I got started when I was young because I didn't have anyone to teach me the ropes. Today, I also chair the junior board for the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship, NIFTY, here in Los Angeles, which teaches youth, mainly from underserved communities, the skill set necessary to become entrepreneurs. I have seen the tremendous impact of the young entrepreneurs through the program. For example, Haley grew up in the back of a coffee shop where her mom was a barista. She would see people throw away sugar packets into the trash. She hates waste and invented and patented a dissolvable sugar packet to help reduce waste. Crystal founded the Guardian Locket to help reduce attacks on women on college campuses walking home late at night alone. The Guardian Locket is a piece of jewelry. Press it once, and it will send a fake call to your phone so it looks like you're talking to someone when you're walking home. Press it twice, and it will alert authorities and your key contacts to your location. And this past year, Jasmine, an avid swimmer, founded Smudgies, a reusable makeup remover wipe that works better than any product on the market today. These are the results of coaching, mentoring, and developing our youth into entrepreneurs. I help take their ideas and turn them into business plans, open doors for them, make connections, and open their eyes to the possibilities that are out there. Through the entrepreneurial mindset, they now have the knowledge and confidence to tackle any problem. So, what does it take to become an entrepreneur? I do not believe you are born with that skill, though that does help, but can be taught it. I did not come from a family of entrepreneurs, though my great-grandfather started an open-air fruit market in Oil City, Pennsylvania, when his truck broke down on his way back from a wholesale producer, and so the produce didn't rot. He opened up the back of his truck and quickly sold out, realizing an unmet need in Oil City. I'd like to share with you these 8 lessons in entrepreneurship. Number 1, create a stranger's log. Every week, meet with 5 people you did not know before, strangers, and ask them questions related to your business. Meet with a distributor, a marketer, a patent attorney, and just ask them question after question after question. At the end, ask if there is anyone else you should meet with, and at the end of several weeks, through your stranger's log and documenting the lessons learned, you will have valuable insights into launching your business. Number 2, remove yourself from the process. One goal for most entrepreneurs is to create a stable cash flow. So what can you do to automate that and remove yourself from the process? Make yourself disposable and empower others to the operations. A great resource is the 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Number 3, hone your elevator pitch. An elevator pitch is an invaluable tool for getting investors, customers, and press. You don't need to tell everything in your elevator pitch, but just enough to get the other person interested to ask a follow-up question. Number 4, Talk to everyone. You'll be surprised by the unexpected connections people have. Genuinely get to know others and what they are interested in. You'll be surprised how those connections come in handy 5 years later for you or your business. Number 6, just do something and learn, learn, and learn. I have seen countless businesses wait until the product is just right before launching, many times missing the business opportunity altogether. And to that point, number 7, create an MVP, or a minimal viable product, to get your product to market quickly and then iterate. It is more helpful to have feedback from real customers. And then the next one, if you are a student, leverage the student card. If you have a business or are currently running a business, everyone wants to help students learn, and you'll be surprised by the invaluable access you can get to corporate leaders by playing the student card. And the last one, number 8, write thank you notes. You'll be surprised how few people write thank you notes, let alone physical ones. Therefore, those that do are remembered and stand out. Get into the habit. However, if there is one thing from my talk to remember, it is this Chinese proverb in launching your business, your change, or your idea. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Let's realize our potential and build great things. Shukran. Thank you.
اليوم كان في أكثر من الحديث عن تجارب شخصية، عن تجارب أشخاص عايشوها، عن تجارب أشخاص كانوا يتابعونها، وعن تجارب أيضا أشخاص لاحظوها في مجتمعهم وحولهم. فحبوا أن ينقلوا هذه الفكرة للمجتمع البريطاني اللي كان موجود اليوم، وأيضا إلى زملائهم من الطلاب السعوديين.
اليوم قدمت نبذة عن رحلتي من السعودية عن طريق أكسفورد إلى كامبريدج. كانت يعني تجاربي خلال هالرحلة كطالبة غير بريطانية وغير مقيمة في بريطانيا أساساً، تدرس في بريطانيا في اثنين من أفضل جامعات العالم اللي هم أكسفورد وكامبريدج.
مسك أخذت عينة من كل مجال بحيث أنها تزيد الوعي عند المجتمع عن التخصصات أو عن الأفراد نفسهم هذولا، إنهم هم بيشتغلوا في هذه المجالات، بيبدعوا في هذه المجالات. فمسك أعطتنا زي اللي هو بلاتفورم إنه إحنا نبرز نفسنا أو إنه حتى نطرح إيش إحنا عندنا.
حبيت أشارك تجربتي بحيث إنه أنا طالب عمري 25 سنة، لسه توي بدأت الأندرجراد.
مسك لندن اليوم عرفتني على الشباب اللي أنا ما أشوفهم في لندن، فمن هذا المكان صار عندي مكان أتعرف فيه على الشباب السعوديين اللي يدرسوا في الجامعات الأخرى، كانت على مستوى لندن ولا على مستوى بريطانيا الكبرى.
Thank you so much, Elliot, for some great advice that you gave there. And I'm just wondering, everyone, how old do you have to be to play the student card? How far does it go up, especially if you consider yourself a lifelong student? And I thought the point about meeting 5 strangers was an excellent one, and I really hope that everybody takes that advice to heart, and when we have an opportunity just to meet the people that you don't know and just learn something new about them and share different thoughts and different experiences. One thing I'd like to add to what you were saying, which is really points to the power of networking or just even having a very minimal exchange. One of the most powerful lessons that I've learned in a new journey of entrepreneurship that I've taken is this. never underestimate the strong power of weak ties. And I think that really underscores what you said. I'd love to introduce our next speaker now, who is Abdul Thunayan. He is the CEO of Ivanzi, and he's going to talk about overcoming challenges in the startup world. So please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everyone. I was asked by the Misk Foundation to give an inspirational speech. I'm not going to be doing that today. Instead, I'll talk to you about my personal struggles, challenges, and epic failures. There is nothing wrong with failing. Thomas Edison found 1,000 ways to fail before he invented the light bulb. But first, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Abdullah bin Thunayan. I was born and raised in Riyadh City. At the age of 18, I went to the American University in Washington, D.C. Upon graduation, I went back home. I was lucky enough to lead a successful career. I worked in everything from real estate development to hospitality, fitness center, and at one point, amusement parks. My job enabled me to travel the world. I used to average 40 hours in airplane every month. It was a dream job. On one of my flights, I found myself celebrating my birthday, my 40th birthday. I also found myself asking if I was happy, if I was content with my accomplishments. And the simple answer was no. I did not want to celebrate my 50th birthday in the same plane and ask myself, what if? What if I took a risk? I wanted to be part of something bigger. I wanted to have an impact, or at least try. I wanted to have a greater challenge. Soon after that flight, went back home, packed my bags, quit my job, flew all the way to New York City, where I founded not one, but 2 startups. Retail Links, a platform that connects users to retail space. You may book it by the hour, the day, the week, the month, and even long term. Basically, Airbnb for retail spaces. The second one, Ivanzi.com. It is an online curated marketplace designed to empower independent and emerging brands. See, the likes of Amazon and Etsy, they're mass marketplaces. Premium to luxury goods by independent brands are greenfield. And we went after that. Both of them represent the chicken and egg problem. Both of them are multi-sided marketplaces. Both of them are the most challenging business model out there online. You see, marketplaces work well when you hit your critical mass. When you hit a mass of enough users and enough suppliers, service providers. To put that in perspective of how difficult it is, 90% of startups fail within the first year. Only 1% gets VC funding. 2/3 of those startups that got funding fail. They never make it. I was self-funded. I was underfunded in New York City. Did not want to start in the Middle East. Wanted to come and play with the big boys. So coming to a market that is mature and competitive, the odds were clearly against me. I was told that I wouldn't make it. But if you believe in your dreams, and if your dreams do not excite you and terrify you at the same time, they're not worth going after. And my dream did terrify me and excite me at the same time. And I choose to go after it. We launched Ivanzi about a year ago, March 2017. 6 months after launch, found myself burning through my runway and burning the left of my cash so fast. We were doomed to fail. But again, there's nothing wrong with failure. One wise man once said, failure is temporary. Giving up is permanent. Me and my team did not want to give up. So we started thinking how to survive, how to generate a cash flow that sustain us. We realized that retail is in distress. We realized that we live in a co-sharing economy. We contacted some of our brands, told them to chip in a form of subscription, a monthly subscription, and we will build our own store. You see, online businesses are moving into brick and mortar. Offline businesses are closing up and going online. There was a disconnect, a state of confusion from click to brick, and we wanted to bridge that. Those brands we reached out to were excited. They traditionally sell online. They wanted people to touch, feel, and try their products. They gave us money. Our own sellers gave us money. 18 days, we built a store, a flagship in Soho, New York. It was a great success. Our conversion rates, offline and online, increased. Our user acquisition rate increased. Brand recognition, brand awareness. We walked out of that valley of death that we were in just 4 months ago. We started thinking, why couldn't we get more brands and open more stores? We're a tech company, but we could do it. So we got more money from other brands. Just last month, we opened not one but two, back to back. Both of them on March 1st. One in King of Prussia, Philadelphia, the other one is Washington, D.C., Tyson's Corner. We became, in a night and a day, from a tech company to a national retailer. Just 20 days short of our celebrating our anniversary, first year anniversary. And now we have 50,000 users. Thank you. But don't take my word, take the word of this wise man. He invested in 100 startups. He scaled them on a scale from 1 to 10. He found out that timing is the #1 success factor. You come in too early, you have to educate the market about the product or service you sell. Probably going to fail. You come too late, you're going to compete. There's too much competition. Probably fail. Team and execution. He placed that at #2. 3 is the idea. I remember one man coming to me and telling me, Abdul, I have an idea that is worth $1 million. I told him, why not $100 million? Why not $1 billion? The idea comes 3rd. Your business model, how do you make money? 4th. Funding is 5th. Money is important, but it's not everything. But what this man failed to mention is passion. You see, passion makes the impossible possible. Passion can move mountains. We, all of us here, at this hall, right now, a result of the passion of one man, Mohammed bin Salman. His passion has transformed Saudi Arabia. His passion has brought women empowerment in Saudi Arabia. His passion has changed the face of the country. A man of my age, I never thought it would happen in my lifetime. He's a passionate man. And if that man can change a country, imagine what your own passion can make for you. Thank you so much.
Abdul, congratulations. Thank you so much for sharing your story and how you did it. A lot of us can take some great lessons from that. And I think what we're seeing here from all the speakers on stage now and the stories you're going to hear later as well, that it really is one person's imagination, one person's idea, one person that you may meet, one risk that you just decide you're going to take and do it. And that leap of faith makes all the difference. I'd like to introduce our next speaker who really does understand that, and her name is Natalie Hampton. She's the CEO of Sit With Us, and the title of her talk is All It Takes Is One.
A boy stopped me in my school hallway one day to ask me if I needed help finding my classes, and it saved my life. You see, it was the first day out of a school where I had been imprisoned, where my own classmates fought to strip me of my voice, my safety, and everything that I was. Through death threats and 4 separate physical attacks that left me bruised and bleeding, they pushed me farther and farther into a hole until I could no longer see my own future. But there he was, a stranger who saw my struggle and how obviously lost I was on a new campus, and took the time to stop, notice, and help me. I was seen for the first time in 2 years, and it saved my life. My name is Natalie Hampton, and this is the story of how I went from the victim of attacks to the CEO of a nonprofit helping kids across the world. But if you'll take one thing from my talk today, it's that all it takes is one person to change the world, and that can be you with a simple act of kindness. My story starts around 5 years ago. I was entering the 7th grade at a new, prestigious, all-girls private school, and I was so excited. I fully expected 3 things. 1, I would make tons of friends. 2, I would enjoy all my classes, even math. And 3, I would graduate from there and go off to college. But within the first few weeks, I started noticing that I didn't exactly fit in with my classmates. Essentially, things were fine until they weren't. It started out with those little things that can be easily explained away. People began to ditch me as a joke. They would say mean things in passing, and every time I tried to join a lunch table, I'd get the same line as in the movie, "You can't sit with us." And while on paper this doesn't sound like much, it was the overall everyday cumulative effect that began to chip away at my self-esteem and self-confidence. Then, in the spring of my 7th grade year, I was physically attacked twice in 2 days. I came home sobbing with bleeding red scratch marks down my face, bruises down my leg, and my hair in knots. And then, a week later, another attack happened. I was walking to class when a group of girls surrounded me. They were converging in and calling my name when one girl grabbed my computer and ran, while another girl pinned me to the ground with her foot on my head. I remember my face scraping against the concrete and the ringing in my ears, and I was writhing and struggling as hard as I could, and I was able to free myself, but as I turned to run away, I felt the blow of her fist against my spine, knocking me to the ground. That moment replays in my head over and over, and I don't know if it'll ever go away. After that point, I was completely ostracized by everyone. I was pushed into lockers, verbally bullied, sent threatening emails, cyberbullied, and on top of that, I ate lunch alone every day. For the first time in my life, I felt like nothing. I felt like my life no longer mattered, and every day was a battle to look and seem okay despite what was going on in my head. And it was a battle I was slowly losing until I hit the point where I didn't think I would survive long enough to see my high school graduation day. The final straw for me was in 8th grade the next year in my science class. We were all working on a group project when the girl next to me became enraged because her project failed. She was standing on the desk with scissors in her hand, and I remember them glinting off the fluorescent classroom lights as she spun around, pointed them at me, and said, "I'm resisting the urge to slit your throat with these." Even though the teacher was there, he did nothing. The students around me did nothing. Even the administration did nothing. Instead, they tried to blame me for my own attacks and make it seem like it was my fault. I felt like I was screaming out for help and no one was even stopping to notice. And so it was at that point that we realized that things weren't going to get better, and we began to look at other schools. My salvation came to me in the form of an envelope full of confetti and a piece of paper with the word "accepted" on it. And I was so blinded by all the years I might actually get to see. I started in a school where from the first day I had people to sit with at lunch and people stopping to help me find my classes. So we've come full circle. I got out and I was finally happy. But my story doesn't end there. I began to think, what if I didn't have to go through what I went through in the first place? What if things had been different? I was so lucky to have escaped, but in a way I felt stuck. I felt guilty for getting the chance to see that I was better than the person my school community painted me to be. Why did I get that second chance when so many kids out there still suffer? So I realized that if I didn't use my story to speak out against bullying, I was just as bad as all the people who saw me get hurt and said nothing. So at my new school, every time I saw a kid sitting alone, I would always invite them over to my table. And these kids, one girl in particular, are now my closest friends, who I never would have met if I hadn't invited them over. It wasn't until years later that I was talking to that girl, and she said that around the time I'd invited her over, she had been considering suicide and dealing with self-harm. Finding a group of friends changed her mind. And so I saw firsthand how that simple act of kindness made a huge difference in her life. And that's when I came up with the idea for Sit With Us, a free lunch planning app that helps promote inclusion in schools. By giving kids one person who sees their struggle, it can save them from so much suffering. It did for her, and it really did for me. The way it works is simple. It's like any social media app. When you sign up, you create a profile page with a bio, list, and interests, and you can add friends. If you choose to be a Sit With Us ambassador, you post where you're sitting at lunch, and that's viewable to your whole school. So if you're a kid looking for a table to join, all you have to do is open the app, and you're greeted with a full list of the tables you can join without any fear of rejection. You know you're finding somewhere safe. Since our release in September 2016, we've gained over 100,000 downloads. We're operating in 8 different countries, and we continue to grow every day. I'm so astounded by the different types of schools and places of worship and conferences and everything that have been looking for a way to make their community more inclusive and have found Sit With Us to fit that need. But what do I want you to take away from this? A simple but meaningful message. All it takes is one person to change the world. And that person, starting right now, is you. It's up to you to make a difference in your communities, to leave this world better than the way you found it. Something as seemingly small as lunch can make huge strides in making a school more inclusive, and a simple act of kindness can save a life. So imagine what you're capable of. We go through life not always being conscious of the people around us, but if we take the time to stop, notice, and help, imagine what we could do. Even if you don't use the app, you can embody the spirit of Sit With Us by inviting someone sitting alone over to your table. You never know. Your future best friend might be sitting at the next table over, and it's up to you to take the first step. So, what will you do next? Thank you.
Wow, Natalie, thank you so much for standing here and sharing an experience that was so challenging, so difficult, and so personal here with all of us. And I think that the connection that all of us have with any human being, no matter how small that gesture is, whether it's a smile or just a minor act of kindness, it may not be to the person that you're directing it towards. So I really think that we can all take a lot of what you've gone through and what you're sharing with us here on board today and going ahead. That leads us to our next speaker, who, by the way, is also underscores the idea that you want to be connected to people around you, that you want to really take in the world around you. So that means you have to look up from your devices every once in a while. So the next speaker is going to talk about building the beautiful world around you. And when you look up from devices, you see things and notice things that you don't always see. So please welcome Wells Boomer, the Chief Development Officer for Branded Arts.
Very much. It feels incredible to be standing in front of you right now, to share the story of my journey that started several years ago when I made it my mission to continuously put myself into situations that would allow me to grow and develop into the person I always wished I could become. Now, I've followed 3 basic principles for the duration of my life that led me to spearhead a global arts initiative through Branded Arts, that led me to Saudi Arabia, during the most transformative period in the entire history of the region, when I attended the Misk Global Conference as a delegate for the Milken Institute. And I've always held the belief that people are not static. I don't have the same story I did 5 years ago, and I don't have the same story I will 5 years from now. Neither will you, and neither will the people you meet. That is why it is so important to get to know those around us. And knowing people is how I've built. What was I building? I didn't really know at the beginning, but I knew it needed to be with people better than me. And at the beginning of this journey, I felt that maybe I didn't have a lot to offer. So I had to photosynthesize value, meaning everything I took in, the byproduct of which had to be constructive. This is where I knew and understood that I am a connector. And what I had to add was empowerment. By getting to know those around me and putting them into the best situations to succeed. Now, I've laid these tracks and followed them every single day. And they've taken me to some very interesting places. I didn't always know where. But they've taken me in front of some of the most influential and powerful people in our generation. They've taken me and exposed me some of the most marginalized and forgotten people in our society. They've taken me to mansions and to prisons. Thankfully, the latter was as a visitor. And sometimes this would even happen in the same day. So I had to take a step back and examine why I kept finding myself in these unique situations. And that period of self-reflection brought to light a number of different characteristics that followed me everywhere. I identified a framework. I decided to give it a name. And that name is Be Well. It's my name. It's Boomer Wells, so maybe I'm just tricking myself into remembering it easier. I don't know. What it is, it's a tool. It is a tool for me to understand and explore myself and those around me and know what allows us to make ourselves great, to allow us to be well in our own way. It's a mindset. It's a platform, and it's an operating system built on curiosity and action. And it has three main principles. Number one, show up. Like you all did today. Show up. The more we show up, the more we get invited. And the more opportunity we have. Sometimes we don't feel like it. Sometimes we need to talk ourselves into it. Number two, follow up. What are you going to do when you get there? Do what you say you are going to do. Develop a reputation for being dependable, consistent, and for being a doer. Number three, if you are anything like me, there's been somebody in your life who has elevated you. Bring up. And I feel it is my duty to bring up those who best exemplify my characteristics, my values, and are a great reflection of myself. Now, I want to share with you a story of how I utilize these three characteristics to be standing in front of you today. I met Warren Brand, the namesake and founder of Branded Arts, whose mission it is to transform communities through arts and education on a global scale. Now, Warren was doing an event with some children who belong to an organization to which I am involved. And the timing was funny. It would have been so easy for me not to show up because the morning before, I ran a grueling triathlon, and all I wanted to do was sit at home. My body was telling me, don't get up. But my spirit and my principles told me I needed to show up. It would have been so easy for me to stay home and rest and miss an opportunity that would change the course of my entire life, but also change the way the world looks. And my follow-up with Warren was, Warren, if I open up a door for you, walk through it. And do what makes you great. Do what I've seen you do. Say yes. And there's no limit to the things we can do together. Once he said yes, we instantly brought each other up. We elevated each other. Just like we have with hundreds of artists, students, and community members who all wanted their piece of the creative economy. 350 murals later, 40 cities worldwide, we've done some amazing things. We have worked with some of the biggest artists and the most famous ones from around the world. Some of the biggest brands. We've won awards for design. And we painted the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. And for two Angelinos, it doesn't get any bigger or better than this, but somehow it did. And somehow it continues to get better and bigger. We've put together the largest mural festival in the history of the United States by partnering with the Kennedy family and the Los Angeles Unified School District. The next year, we did it even bigger in Sacramento at the state capitol. This got us into the LA Times, the Smithsonian Magazine, and most recently, Arabia Now. This has us working with developers and architects, some of the largest in the world, who are building limit-pushing structures in the form of shopping malls, apartments, office buildings, metro stations and stadiums, and we are involved from the conceptual phase where we get to bring vision to life. And when you think about vision, you think about the massive vision that's required to put together these transformative art pieces that I've seen in my journey around the world. Larger than life and inspiring, and it inspires me every day to challenge the artists I work with, to push them into a new definition of what is possible. And on my latest journey to Saudi Arabia, a land of where vision meets action, I was inspired once again. I was inspired to do the same thing with the world-class artists already in the kingdom, to challenge and push and redefine what is possible. And at Branded Arts, we will do this by merging the arts, education, and technology. Now imagine the city of the future. The city of the future must have these three things. How do you want this city to tell your story with its buildings and open spaces? Through the arts, we believe we can help tell this larger than it's ever been told. The world is coming to Saudi Arabia. You have a huge canvas to paint however you want, to sculpt into a true Saudi vision. Let us show up and continue enhancing this beautiful world you are already building. Let us follow up and continue building this creative economy by empowering the artists and entrepreneurs. Let us continue to bring each other up by pushing further and doing things that have never been done on this planet. From Riyadh to Jeddah, and yes, to Neom. With you, inshallah. We hope, we want to build and lay these tracks because the world will follow. Thank you, and be well.
Thank you so much for that, Boomer. Really enjoyed taking your messages and your experiences from that. Where vision meets action, I think, is my takeaway here. And that is something that all of our speakers today are sharing and demonstrating with you. You have your own visions here in this room, so take that action. Let's take a short coffee break first, though, and get something to eat and something warm to drink. And make sure you meet 5 strangers, because I may pick on you when you come back in and ask you about who you met. But here's a short video while you're leaving the room that actually captures the Misk Global Forum highlights that happen in Riyadh every year. Thank you.
To make the world a better place for everyone.
Don't ever let somebody else tell you what you can't do. But this is the very first time that I've ever been invited to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
This is a very important topic. Getting youth to show us the future, to help them to feel empowered. That's critical.
Is we're really trying to identify where these gaps are and trying to give the opportunity for the young people to learn or get training or get some form of education on it.
Je veux adresser mon plein soutien et celui de la France au prince héritier pour cette initiative de créer en Arabie Saoudite le Misk Global Forum. Vous relevez le défi d'organiser ici le Davos des jeunes et c'est une formidable source de confiance en l'avenir que vous nous offrez ainsi.
But what if we have a world where every student can learn at their own pace? Every student can master concepts before moving on. And what if it was a world where all of that was freely accessible if you just had access to a low-cost smartphone or some type of a device?
I'm excited about this initiative because I love challenging young people to solve very tough problems and to pursue their dreams.
And youth is a beautiful thing. Be young, enjoy yourself, but know this. While you are off being young and enjoying yourself, the people that you are ultimately going to be competing with, they are someplace grinding. They're studying, they're practicing, they're researching, they're rehearsing, they're networking, and that's going to make the difference between who signs the front of the check and who signs the back of the check.
When you open things up for the young people, they get very creative and start to dream, and I'm very optimistic about what's possible here.
With Misk, we're all about, developing, empowering, and equipping young people for the knowledge economy. And on a global level, essentially the Misk Global Forum is the global arm of the Misk Foundation.
We have the power to find what we need beyond the old educational paradigm. Schools need to recognize the power of these new possibilities and find ways of using technology to improve the educational experience for all.
So Saudi Arabia is opening up its market for innovative young entrepreneurs from all over the globe.
هل نحن جاهزون لتوظيف مكاسب الثورات العلمية والصناعية التي يشهدها العالم؟ كيف سنتكيف مع الثورة الصناعية الرابعة التي تضرب بكثير من الصناعات التقليدية؟
In a knowledge economy, human capital, certain forms of human capital becomes especially important in the interaction with machines, machines that have been infused with new technology.
I'm really excited about what the Misk Foundation is doing and really empowering young people.
What did I do today to make tomorrow possible?
الطاقة الحقيقية والقوة الحقيقية لتحقيق هذه الرؤية، وهي أهم ميزة بالنسبة لدى السعودية هي الطاقة الشبابية اللي فيها، والميزة الجيدة أنهم شباب واعي قوي لديه طموح رائع، مثقف متعلم بشكل جيد مبدع، لديه قيم عالية. باقي فقط أن نضع الرؤية ونعمل عليها. الشباب بلا شك هم أهم روافد هذه الرؤية وتحقيقها.
Ladies and gentlemen, please return to your seats. Our program will resume shortly. Thank you. Give me another one. Ladies and gentlemen, please return to your seats. Our program will resume shortly.
Welcome back, everyone. My mother says I don't need a microphone because I'm loud anyway. So thanks for that. We'd like to resume the program now, so if you could please come inside and join the rest of us. I know you're still networking, meeting some really fascinating people around here, but we've got some wonderful speakers here on stage. Next, I'd like to introduce someone whose favorite movie is Catch Me If You Can. The reason he's so passionate about Hollywood, because he says this is a place where someone can really become someone overnight. They can come from nothing, and purely on creativity and passion and talent, you can be someone. I asked him who he admires the most here in Hollywood, and he said Leonardo DiCaprio. And it struck me that he kind of looks like a Saudi Leonardo DiCaprio. Okay, so I'm going to let you judge, but this is what happens when a Saudi kid goes to Hollywood. This. I'd like to introduce Man bin Abdul Rahman, a film producer and director. Ladies, tell me what you think.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today, I want to talk to you about the moment I fell in love with movies. I was born in 1992, so my journey starts in 1999, so you do the math. In 1999, my family, my dad, continued his studies in Canada. So he took us, me, my older brother Talha, and my little brother Amru, to Canada. If you can visualize them in cartoons, that's uno, dos, tres, Man, Talha, and Amru. That's us, little in Saudi Arabia. So while my dad was, continuing his studies, we went there in the summertime, so we had no schools. We were so bored. And coming from a religious family, we only watched Islamic videos, VHS, and never seen a movie in our lives. So, us bored, that's Talha by the way, bored as well. His neighbors, they're from Palestine, they said, we have a lot of VHS tapes, maybe your kids can, watch some of them, and, just out of the boredom, and then enjoy themselves until school starts, right? So, my dad goes to Zellers. Zellers is close to Target here on Hyber Banda back in Saudi Arabia. So we go there and he go through the shelves and try to find a VHS player. The sale guy is like, hey, get this one, And my dad is like, sure. Can we try a VHS first? I want to make sure that it works, right? So it works, very good. We take it home, and this is me, very happy, jumping up the sky. Very happy. So we unboxed the VHS player, right? And there was a movie inside. The guy who tested the VHS player forgot that movie. And the movie was Jingle All the Way. A Muslim kid, never seen a movie in his life. His first movie was Jingle All the Way, a Christmas American movie starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's the log line of Jingle All the Way. I'm not going to bore you with that. Starring this guy. That's the moment I fell in love with movies. I never knew Christmas before. I never knew the surroundings of anything. And watching that movie changed my life and my brother's life. And it took us somewhere else. That's me in Canada, age of 7, just to prove to you that I was in Canada and it's cold. My brother Talha would direct home videos with a family camera as soon as we came back home, because after Jingle All the Way, there's a couple of movies, Home Alone, the usual suspects. And after, fast forward to Malaysia, 2006, we went on vacation. The family grew. We had 2 more brothers, baby. They're not triplets, but brothers. And my brother Talha takes me aside, right? And he goes to the theater area and he buys 2 tickets, one for him, one for me. Goes to my family and says, hey, we bought them, we paid the money, we have to go see the movie. And my dad was like, sure, go ahead. So we go inside, and I'm sure the theater was small and dirty, but to me, it looked like that. It looked so beautiful, amazing, golden, And the movie was Pirates of the Caribbean. That's the time when I fell in love with movie theaters. Fast forward to my high school years, 2008, 2010. I'm not very smart, but in Saudi Arabia, it's only 3 years, not 4 years like here in the US. My classmates, they always talk about, while I was in high school, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Blah, 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 right? And I want to be a doctor. I want to be an engineer. Me, I want to be a filmmaker. Everybody like, what is that? Is that even a thing? And I'm like, yeah, it is a thing. I think so. I have no idea. I did not research it, but I think it's a thing because people do it here, so I think I want to do it. I want to learn how to make a movie. I grew up watching television, Saudi television series, right? And the quality is so different than what I watch when I watch an American movie. So I always was curious. I was curious, how do they do that? How the hell did they do that, right? That's a picture of the devil. So when I go back to school, and let's just back it a little bit. When I go back to school and I say I want to be a filmmaker, my superiors would say, no. No, 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 no. Hollywood is no. And besides, there's no cinemas in Saudi Arabia, so you're going to go waste time, money, and your education on something that doesn't exist. I was like, okay, we'll see. So I joined King Abdullah scholarship program, God rest his soul, alhamdulillah, in 2010, after I graduated. So that's me, let's see, the flag. I flew all the way to Los Angeles in a actually business scholarship. And I had it in me, intentionally going to switch to filmmaking if I can find something. That's me with Steven Spielberg. That's me with Brad and Angelina before they split up. And that's me with Will Smith singing Fresh Prince. And that's me with Jim Carrey. And that's me with DiCaprio, my twin. And that's me with Scorsese. And of course, Schwarzenegger again, telling him the same story I just told you. And that's me, attending a premiere. Right? Wrong. It was not as I expected. I'm sure that was me in the crowd, like, a mile away from the action. So I said, enough is enough. And after I said enough is enough, a miracle happened. Ooh. A miracle happened that the New York Film Academy School has opened up. It's one of these schools that they agree on sponsoring it. The scholarship, right? So I immediately joined the New York Film Academy. And that's me holding a camera as a proof that I was there learning how to film. But that's fake because somebody's filming me, filming them, so it doesn't make sense, but that's a proof. I figured out that while I was in school, I have to work hard. There's a lot of things to do. You have the passion, right? But still, there's a lot of work to be done. So when I was in school, I learned how to become a sound person, a DP, a grip, all these, other departments, and when you make a movie, there's 1,000 people making a movie. It's an army, not just one person. But I only liked being a producer, first of all, a director, second of all, and maybe a DiCaprio, third of all. As a student, as a producer, you know, just a little bit about producing. There's budgeting. It's very important how to budget a movie. It's basically a managing an entire set, pre-production and post. It's a teamwork. It's not only one person. Permits, you know, it's just little things, right? Speaking of permits, this funny story happened when I was in school doing a commercial for a class. That's me going to the permit office, trying to get a permit for a shoot, right? And the teacher asked me, did you get a permit? I was like, yes, I did. But in fact, when I went to that office, they said, you're too late, you cannot have a permit. But he had the information on the shoot date and everything. So I lied to him and I said, yo, I'm not gonna film, we're canceling the shoot and everything. So we go to shoot, the guy reports to the police, and that's me. Where's your permit? I don't have a permit. Everybody was disappointed. And the reason I'm telling you this story is because I think being a student, you can get away with these kind of things where you do some mistakes and it's fine, right? People get upset, but at the end they'll forgive you. I fixed it by actually paying for the whole thing aside. So everyone was happy. Every single project I learned something new. So it's always something new I learned while I was in school, even after school. My brother Talha joined the New York Film Academy, and together we became a team. We created Prince of Arabia Entertainment. That was 3 or 4 years ago. And together we made, that's him, Talha, he's in the crowd. We created Film School Musical and The Scapegoat. The Scapegoat, and then I graduated, of course. The Scapegoat went to Dubai Film Festival. And being at Dubai Film Festival actually gave me that energy, gave me that sense of happiness that I really want to be a filmmaker, because I attended a lot of film festivals here in the US, but the one in Dubai, it really, really lifts you up. So I was happy. This guy is Al-Mu'taz Jeffrey. It's one of the things that I really wanted to make here in the US, is having people from Saudi Arabia with the same passion. So he is basically my, producer partner in crime. Together with Al-Mu'taz, we created Taht Al-Ismint. He produced it, Align produced it. It won $1 million in Qumra and MBC last year. And also we created Wahi. It's a first VR project in the Holy Mosque in Mecca. That's me in Dubai, that's me dancing, that's me again. The vision. With Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman's vision. Having a dream is good. I really want to say that with this in the background. Having a dream is good. Having a passion is amazing. Taking initiative is what it's all about. But consistency is how you achieve. It's an exciting time to be alive. History is being written as we speak. I'm proud to be a Saudi Arabian who is not dreaming to be a filmmaker anymore. Finally, it's a reality. Thank you, Prince Mohammed bin Salman, for this. Because of you, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, my society was seeing Hollywood like that, and now they see it like this. They see it before like that, and now they see me like this. Thank you so much.
Very nice. Ladies and gentlemen, the Oscar goes to Man bin Abdul Rahman. You're the man, Man. And by the way, he has a desk at the back there, so if anyone wants to sign up for a screen test or something, feel free. And he will personally be in charge of those tests. Thank you so much. What a great storyteller. What a great inspiration. Thank you. Let me introduce our next fantastic speaker, who actually does not take no for an answer. Parents say, look, you really shouldn't travel there. She goes, I am. They say, we think that may be unsafe. She goes, doesn't matter, I'm doing it. They tell her, are you too young to do this? Yes, I can do it. I'm not too young. So she is someone who is determined, passionate, and she knows what she wants. She managed to convince her parents, and she did it by basically leveraging some pretty incredible and impressive academic accomplishments, academic acrobatics, even, I would say. So please give a very warm welcome to Dana Al-Suwaidi, who's an undergraduate at NYU, and she'll tell you about her growth mindset.
What happens when you find yourself 8,000 miles away from home, across the Atlantic Ocean from your strongest support system, questioning whether you are capable of the challenges that you signed up for when you opted to be as an international student? What happens when you fail that calculus test and you start to believe that you are innately incapable of coming to terms with mathematical concepts because you're just not good at math? What happens when a professor tells you that you will not perform well in her class because English is not your native language? Why did I leave? What did I do? What happens here is the birth of what Stanford professor Carl Dweck calls the fixed mindset. Upon conducting decades worth of research, Professor Dweck found that there is a psychological mechanism that enables some people to be more successful than others despite having the same intelligence. This psychological mechanism is known as the growth mindset. Now you must be wondering, what is this fixed mindset? What is this growth mindset? People with a growth mindset, they believe that their intelligence and their skills are malleable. They can be developed, they can be improved, they can be expanded. Those with a fixed mindset, on the other hand, believe that they were born with a certain set of abilities and intelligence that cannot be grown, cannot be developed, and are static. The 4 key ingredients to growth are effort, hardships, failures, and feedback. If you have a growth mindset, you think that effort is valuable and it is valuable for your journey to growth. And on the other hand, another important aspect is hardships. If you have a growth mindset, you believe that hardships are important. They prove that you are trying something new. As for failures, you see them as an important component of your journey to growth because they mean you're learning something. If you're not failing at something, are you challenging yourself? And as for feedback, they deem feedback to be valuable because it is the catalyst to their growth journey. As for people with a fixed mindset, on the other hand, they see effort in a different way. They think that effort means that they're not good at something. They see they shy away from hardships, and they see failures as a demotivating part of their journey. As for feedback, they deem it to be solely belittling because they believe that they are not able to develop their abilities. They believe that when someone tells them that they did something poorly, that is a criticism of themselves and not an attempt to help them become better at something. It is important to note that mindsets are on a spectrum. So depending on the day and depending on the task at hand, we would lie on a different part of the spectrum. Now, I fell into the trap of the fixed mindset. All my life, I was that fearless girl, confident. I was confident in all my abilities and in my intelligence. In the summer of 2016, I applied to become a student of the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program. I was discouraged by my teachers who said that a lot of Emirati students had opted out of this program because it was too difficult. The IB itself told me that the age requirement is 16, and I was not 16. Basically, what they were saying was, if you can't run with the big dogs, you better sit on the porch. Well, I didn't want to sit on the porch, and I applied for the program. And at 16, I graduated graduated the diploma program, and I had performed within the bracket of the top 10% of IB students worldwide. Thank you. Thank you very much. I also received an award from the Office of the International Schools in London, commending me for being an exemplar student of their program. I then pushed and held very well-constructed debates with my parents, who said, don't go to America, you can't study abroad, A, you're too young, and B, you're a girl. And my parents came around, and 2 months after turning 17, I moved to New York City. I failed that calculus test, and I was told by my professor that I wouldn't excel in her class because English was not my native language. I started to doubt my abilities and my intelligence, and I started to think, what on God's green earth took you out of your parents' home, across the ocean, and to New York City, out of all the places? I asked myself, can you really run with the big dogs now? And the answer is yes. Yes, I can, and yes, I will. And I want you to remind yourselves when you are doubting yourself that yes, you can, and yes, you will. The most prominent threat to your success is your fear of failure. Have faith, because your mind is capable of more than you could ever imagine. I hope that you're hungry for knowledge, hungry for growth. I hope that once we part today, you become more conscious of your mind. Don't be its slave, be its master. Be a visionary and work hard. And have faith in yourself. Because if you do, you will shake this earth to its core. Thank you very much.
تفاعل كبير من الساعات الأولى اللي بدأ فيها الإيفنت، حضور كبير جدا، مع إنه في ثلوج، في عاصفة ثلجية في الخارج.
الفعالية هذه توفر لي مجال إني أشارك في الأمور اللي تعلمتها، الأمور اللي فعلا أحس إني أبغى الناس تسمع عنها وتعرف عنها أكثر.
مسك خلال السنتين بس الأخيرة اللي فاتت استطاعت أنها تجعل منتدياتها مهمة جدا، مهمة لأنها تجمع الناس، تبين للناس وش هي السعودية.
أنا حتكلم اليوم عن البيس والتولرنس اللي هو التعايش والسلام. كيف ممكن نحقق هذا الشيء؟ إيش مشاكلنا اللي إحنا قاعدين نعانيها الآن؟
المختلف الآن هنا اليوم أنه المنتدى سعودي، برعاية سعودية وطنية، وهو للعالم أنهم يشوفون وش عندنا هي السعودية.
I was so excited and enthusiastic after that speech. I wanted to run right up here and keep going. Thank you so much, Dana, for inspiring all of us and sharing your story. You know, I just wanted to share something that struck me as she was speaking about dealing with setbacks and failures. You know, I've been reading the Stoic philosophers a lot lately, just kind of to help me through some bad patches, you know, where you have rejection and you are failing. And I realized that what they have encouraged is the word good. Out of every experience that you have that's not so great, you just say good, right? So what I've started to do is when something happens, my response is to say good. So, for example, I go, oh, I missed my flight. Good. You know, I can stay in town a little bit longer and visit my friends. Or, oh, I didn't win that contract. And I go, okay, good. I can maybe improve myself for the next time because I obviously did something. I should have done something better. Or, you know, or if I wanted to be somewhere and I couldn't make it, I say good. So I feel like this has been a wonderful takeaway for me, and everything that I'm hearing from our speakers actually give us an opportunity where there's failure or rejection or a setback. We can actually turn it into an opportunity. And that's also what strikes me when I'm introducing the next speaker, because when I heard him practicing, I kept thinking of this. Every time he said something, I thought to myself, good. He said something else, I thought, good. And you'll see in the trajectory of what he shares with you now, all the difficult, challenging, almost crippling moments, he said good. And he pulled himself out of something and has done something pretty magnificent. So with that, I would like to introduce Abdullah Fahad Al-Sena, an undergraduate at Woodbury University, and his talk is called One Click Away.
Thanks, I'm gonna kill it. Assalamu alaikum. See if it's working. Does it work? That's good. That's good. It's an absolute honor to meet you all in Los Angeles. Probably if I were still studying on the East Coast, I would use the weather as an excuse for not making the talk today, because my relationship with the snow in Philadelphia during my first year of architecture was not too friendly. So this is the physical model that I used to carry when I would leave my apartment. Would be in very perfect condition, but by the time that I get to the studio, I would look like this. This is not mine, maybe because I'm too embarrassed to show you mine. You wouldn't tell there was an architectural physical model. But the walking on the ice, black ice, was the reason of the damage of my model. At least I don't have to deal with this problem anymore, but I have to deal with the LA traffic. Let's go back in time. When I was a child, I was interested in many things. In my teenage year, I like color, clothing, photography, all type of building and nature. But I remember the question that I used to get in high school and middle school, what I wanted to be in the future. But every time I would have a new answer, from doctor, psychologist, filmmaker, and soccer player. That was very overwhelming for me. So they always say, you don't know the food that you like unless you try them. I tried soccer and I tried filmmaker, but not psychology or medicine. I was very lost on my scale of passion and what I wanted to do in the future. I realized every one of us have an internal fuel tank that either empty or full. And I was searching for something to energize me. As Oprah Winfrey said, your immediate goal is to find your purpose. During the last year of my middle school, I joined a soccer club of my hometown, and I thought that would be my future direction. Until one day, when I was playing video games with my cousin, I felt a severe pain in my chest, and I thought, and my heart was beating very rapidly, and my breathing was very fast. When I went to the hospital, I was diagnosed with pneumothorax. It's basically a collection of free air in the chest cavity that causes the lung to collapse. During the period of 2007 to 2009, I had a 5 surgery in my chest and 1 through my back. The unknown of when I would have the attack, unbearable pain, and the lengthy stay of the hospital caused me to live in a very dark time of my life, and I thought my life was over. As I was not allowed to play soccer or swim or go on a flight for a long time. When I was 17, I agreed to have a major surgery that would control the amount of pressure in my chest. And because I wanted to have a normal life. Even the soccer ball would appear through my toughest time. There was a farmer who shared my room, and he was a very positive and happy man. He had a cancer, but his 3 sons kept this information from him. He knew he was sick, but he did not know the seriousness of his illness. So his positive energy and laughter helped me to see that we may not be able to control our physical limitation, but we can overcome these obstacles and be optimistic about the future and the possibility. This farmer gave me hope and inspired me to see the future I could reach, and instead of thinking my life was over. I have a very loving, supporting family who helped me through this strategy. And with their help, I was able to proceed my education and I graduated from high school with honor. After researching of what I wanted to study, I found architecture would be the intersect of my interest. And when I was rejected from studying architecture in my hometown because I did not pass the school criteria, I decided to study English in the state. And this is one of my life goals, because I thought the possibility of studying architecture would be richer and expand my international interest. I started from the basic level, not speaking the language at all, but thanks to the American family who I lived with for a year and a half, my English improved and I was now qualified to pursue my architectural goal. The reason I chose architecture because it's a mother of art, and I see architecture as a gate to make places better and people happier. And this is what we do as an architect. We build relationship design as we look through the lens of life. I followed this journey until I got into a college where I failed my first design studio, a major course of this study. I was filled with self-doubt, and I thought that I was not doing something that I'm passionate about, or I was doing something wrong. I did take it again, and I passed it, thanks to Mona Livingston, my instructor, my mentor, my inspiration. She taught me many technical aspects of composition, the profile of the design, and the importance of patience through the process. I'm very grateful for her. She gave me such a confident and very competitive field, and I'm very proud that we're still in touch. Moving to California to continue my study, I faced some struggle in my field since my architectural perspective was very different than my fellow student. I was told that I should repeat my first design studio at Woodbury University, and I made an absolute decision to carry on and went to the next level, to the upper studio. Because I believed in the work, and I still maintain the self-confidence that I developed in Philadelphia. So I promised to myself to fight the good fight and prove to myself, not to anyone else, that I belong to this profession. And as Gary Vaynerchuk said, learn the craft, figure out the opportunity at hand, go attack it. You only live once. So 2017 was a year of change for me. During the spring semester, my work was selected for the first time for the first school exhibition, and the task was to propose a program that would serve the community, expand the economy of the region, and exchange culture. The proposal was a contemporary and conceptual art museum with the idea of how one can bring a very timeless design that is not tied to a certain culture, and the way they meet the ground very seamlessly with something that completely continuous, with a fewer demarcating lines that going across the space. Summer 2017, I was part of design research team that study abroad regarding to the refugee crisis in Europe. The project was called Unconditional Welcome, where we studied the future of mobile city. My class and I, we did analyze the outdoor music festival in order to analyze this successful housing structure, and then create a mobile and apply what we have studied to the temporary refugee community. Our research took place in Paris, Calais, Dunkirk, and Nice. Let's see, had fun doing the volunteer. It was not only an academic experience, but also a life experience, because it did expose me to the importance of caring for people who have nowhere to go and with such a basic need like food and shelter. So not only we did work on design, and it was not only a design research based, but also we did volunteer with some stocking a house and prepping meals during Ramadan and sharing responsibility with others. As Zaha Hadid, the Pritzker architect, said, we need to go beyond just providing a shelter. Fall 2017, I was selected with 100 architects and designers and artists to create a work of art that represent a block of New York City for Rise in the City project. And the goal was really to auction the exhibited artwork and raise fund to build accommodating facility for the Love Good Center of Orphanage in Lesotho, Africa. I was very excited to be part of this competition, not only because it would benefit children for a better living condition and communication and education, But it was very unique, unlike any other competition that I have done. And for this project, I felt grafted that I was reacting to a fundamental need of a humanity rather than just being an artist or designer. At the end of 2017, my work was selected to be included at Woodbury School of Architecture Archive, and it was a mixed-use landscape project with a very large site. On the first floor, you would have offices. As you move toward the terraces, you would have a residential zone. For this project, I saw architecture not only as a surface, but also as an object, and how one could immerse himself within the domain and move from one space to the other within the fluidity of the space. Now, 2018, I was accepted at a master program at one of the top 6 architecture schools in the United States and top 15 universities in the world. What I have learned through these challenges is to not let people to project fear on you and be true to yourself and believe in your dream. I wanted to leave you with something that can change your future with one click away. It was one click away to study English in the state, and one click away to submit my grad application, and one click away to accept Misk Talk. Shukran.
Thank you very much, Abdallah, for sharing one click away story with all of us. I'd like to know how many people here in this room have played Monopoly. Can I have a show of hands? So quite a number of you. How many of you have played, but you're not sure if you've played Monopoly? You have, okay. How many of you have played Monopoly for Saudi Arabia? Oh, wow. Okay, fantastic. The youngest member in the room, actually. In that game, you cannot pass go unless you've contributed to Vision 2030. Otherwise, you can't collect 200. How many of you have played Cards Against Humanity? So, again, quite a few of us here in this room. How many of you have played the winking card game? Very few, if hardly any. Well, I want to introduce our next speaker because she is all about gaming. In fact, she is one of the first Saudi women to get into designing games. And she's pretty incredible and so talented. I'm going to introduce her first. I'm going to show you a video. Her name is Noof Bagazi. She's a game designer. This is My Caravan Ride.
Assalamu alaikum. Before I begin my speech, I would like to start off by saying it has been one of my dreams to stand up on a stage and inspire the people. Today, my dreams has come true. My name is Nof Bagazi. I am only one of the only Saudi Arabian women to graduate a game designer from the top of universities, New York Film Academy. No. Before coming into this major, I had no idea the opportunities that would come with game design. Originally, I was planning on getting into animation. However, game designer has opened up my eyes to a lot of different things that I never know about before. I had difficulties within my studies because of the language barrier, cultural differences, and a new adapting and a new educational system. But with motivation and strength, I overcome all of that. I recall on the first day of class, the professor asked me, Nof, what was the last game you played? I couldn't come up with an answer because the truth is I never played game before. My response to him, I enjoy to making 3D characters. I thought I joined the programming for wrong reason, but my professor pointed out I was in the right place. While studying all different types of games, whether it's board games, card games, or digital games, I noticed that there were no Arabic games. And in that moment, the little light bulb in my head turned on, and I started thinking about bringing my Saudi Arabian culture into the world of the game. When I put it two things that I am most passionate about, game design and my culture, it can be naturally. It made sense. I have a goal now. I started with a game similar to Monopoly. At first, it was just a thought. But I designed and printed into one day. The next day, I showed the board games to my professor and a classmate. They reacted beautifully. Creating Monopoly for Riyadh and adding the touch of Saudi Arabian culture to it has opened up a board game of a question from the professor and a classmate, which allowed to me teach them a little more about my culture. It was different in a rewarding way to talk about my culture to those who were unaware of it. This has led me to be more excited about game designer. During my second semester, we were introduced to board games, card games, and party games. Every week, we were assigned to come up with a new idea for a game. During this time, I implemented two old games that have been played in Saudi Arabia, like wing card games. بالعربي لعبة الغمزة زمان، إذا تتذكروها. I began to research and found a story that can be a new game. And it came from Quran. The game I created was called Caravan Ride. This game is based on a story that happened before Islam, رحلة الشتاء والصيف. When covenant riding on a journey through winter and summer. The theme for this game is historical and traditional and goes back into the history of the Islamic religion. I had the pleasure to review these games with my professor and my classmate and the head of department. The feedback that I had received had led me to realize the responsibility that's on me and how powerful and effective it can be. Now, I can show my culture, that real side of it, through game design, and I can create a better understanding about the beauty of Saudi Arabia. Last but not least, okay. Game that I created was one of my favorites. This game is an educational game about Saudi Arabia. It's a simple game called Safir, Travel to Saudi Arabia. Together, my team and I choose 5 different cities in Saudi Arabia and talking about the most popular landmarks, food and clothes, and how the development in Saudi Arabia is today. This game stood out the most to the professor and classmate because it had all the educational elements about our country. Not only did designing games through my culture and showing my passion help to me, graduated from New York Film Academy, but also the fact that I had the chance to enlighten my peers with culture facts that they did not know before. The experience that I had as students at New York Film Academy is indescribable, and I cannot express my pride after completing my study. I love my major. I love my major just as much as I love my country and my culture, and without the two, I would not have been able to successfully succeed as the one of the only female game designer in Saudi Arabia. Thank you.
Thank you so much for bringing your creativity and in a way that allows us to interact in a new way with the culture and the history and the present day of Saudi Arabia. We come to the end of the program with one more speaker to go. So I'd just like to ask all of you to remain in the room for this speaker. It's the hardest thing in the world to be the last speaker, and then it's even worse when people are getting up to leave. It's disconcerting. I realize it's getting late. But if you can hang in there 10 more minutes, because this speaker is addressing the issue of purpose and why we choose to do what we do, and how do we decide that that is in fact what we want to do. So please welcome Mohammed Al-Mukaim, founder and CEO of CX Shift, and he'll be talking about 6 tips for becoming a successful entrepreneur.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. You know, there is a public speaking tip. They told me that I should picture my audience naked. And it's making it worse. I know I'm the last one, but just bear with me. And you know what they say? Save the best for last. So, what if someone told you there is a road to success? Will you take it or not? Well, there's no such thing as road to success. Otherwise, everyone would be successful. I mean, like big time successful. It's not like the road to success was shared with people, and some people said, you know, nah, not gonna take it. Just wanna live a miserable life. So, there's no road to success because we have different terms. As people, we're different in terms of how we do things and why we do them, and the how and the what and the where and the who and the whom. So, if you do exactly what someone else did to succeed, doesn't mean you're going to succeed too. Let's say you want to build another Amazon, exactly like Amazon. So you want to be successful, you want to be the richest man alive. Doesn't mean you're going to succeed too. See, When Amazon started, it was the only one and first one in business. And today's market requirement is completely different from when Amazon started. And the market for online massive marketplaces is so saturated today. So then, how do we succeed? It's about forming your mindset to be successful. First, your purpose. Purpose is something that gives your life meaning. Something that when you wake up in the morning, you look forward to doing. When you go to bed at night, you feel that you're being useful. You've contributed to something. Also, purpose helps you stay stronger when you face obstacles and failure. Second, passion. Passion is your fuel to serve your purpose. Passion makes you enjoy every single moment of your life, including your job, your business, and see it not something as another financial income. When you do what you love and towards a purpose, you'll never work a day in your life. You can find your passion through experiencing more in life. You can be passionate about a lot of things, but you should focus on certain things to be great at. Something you're great at. You should get the right set of skills, abilities, knowledge, and experiences through education, practices, workshops, reading, attending events, hanging out with like-minded people, and talking to experts. Learning is an ongoing progress. You should always keep learning so you can stay up to date with the latest methodologies and best practices in your field. The world needs it. The fourth component, or the fourth component, is something that the world needs it. You should conduct a market research, market validation, and a product market fit to understand what people need. Also, you need to determine the future of your product by understanding the product life cycle and when to introduce a product extension or a product replacement before your product is about to die. For example, you can see big companies like Kodak, Barnes & Nobles, Blockbuster, and Radio Shack went bankruptcy because they did not launch their product replacement that people today need. So other companies launched these product replacement before they do. In this canvas, it's called a value proposition canvas, and it helps you to build value proposition in your product and services that meet your product, that meet your customers' needs and expectation. So you understand their pains, their customer jobs and needs, and the gains. So you provide gain creators and pain relievers into your product services wrapped as value proposition. Now we see how these four components cross each other. If you cross you love it with the world needs it, it creates your mission. When the world needs it crosses you are paid for it, it creates vocation. And profession is created by crossing what you're great at and what you're paid for it. Your passion is created by crossing you love it with what you're great at. And in the middle is your purpose. For example, I founded my business, CX Shift, to make people's lives better through helping businesses small businesses and startups by offering marketing services, web app design, and entrepreneurship programs to help them grow and make their businesses successful. Also, my other purpose is to build a bridge between the US and Saudi Arabia through offering the latest methodologies and best practices in our services. Also, I want to bring the best experts in the field of entrepreneurship from the capital field of entrepreneurship to Saudi Arabia and vice versa. Also, I want to get all Saudi entrepreneurs, all of them, I mean, whoever won, to the US to get the best Silicon Valley experience and Silicon Beach experience. So, no matter how many times you fall and fail, you keep practicing and improving yourself. And get up and try again and again and again. You get support from family, friends, colleagues, mentors, and most importantly, you have confidence in yourself, persistence. You believe in yourself, that no matter how many times you fall, you're going to succeed. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.
Thank you so much. Thanks again to all of our fantastic speakers today that shared some tremendous stories with us. I have one request from the Misk Arts Institute, who would really love for you guys to come to their event tomorrow evening. It's an exhibition at 7 p.m. It's called KSALAX. It's an immersive exhibition of large-scale paintings, live performances, as well as animation projects. And there's a bunch of live performances by both U.S. and Saudi artists. So that's at 820 Santa Fe Avenue, downtown LA in the Arts District from 7 p.m. tomorrow. So I'd like to wrap this up just by reminding us all that it was Steve Jobs that once said that the most important person in the world is the storyteller. And that's what we've heard today. We've heard stories about resilience and vision, the power of belief and desire, the desire and passion for achievement, unrelenting quests for knowledge and the spirit of adventure. And that is what Misk is all about. It's about showcasing powerful stories that leave all of us here in this room a little smarter, more excited, and really appreciative of great ideas and the grit that it takes to make them happen. Thank you and good evening. I'll leave you with some highlights of the Misk Festival in Saudi Arabia.